Hello everybody, my name is Joshua and I'd like to welcome you back to another episode of Coffee, Cats, and King, where we will discuss books, both new and old. I will share with you pictures of my cats, will make you wish they were your cats, and I will drink enough coffee for me and everybody watching. I have a much smaller cup today, little sunshine mug there, because it is not today, it is tonight, and I'm trying to cut down on my coffee intake in the evenings especially. I've been going through a bit of a insomniac kind of period, you know, so I'm trying to do what I can to help with that. So I'm back with another tag today. This is the Friday the 13th franchise book tag. And I've seen this around a couple times. Thought it sounded like a lot of fun. I'm just going to jump right into it. It's 13 questions, of course. So here we go. Question 1. A book where the mother is the villain. All right, I tried to get a little more creative with this one. The villain in this book is the mother, but the mother is the main part of the story, and it's actually questionable whether she is a villain or not. That is Stephen King's Dolores Claiborne. For those of you who have not read this book is not for everyone. This book is one long continuous scene where Dolores Claiborne is in an interrogation with the police to find out exactly what happened during the death of an elderly lady that she was caring for. She is a mother, Dolores is, and her daughter is talked about and sort of brought in at one point, so I think he counts for the prompt. Like I said, it's not a book for everyone because it is very much out of the realm of the usual sort of story setup, but I rather enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty unique. Number 2, a book in the backwoods. Okay, we're gonna get nasty with this one. This is Edward Lee's Monstrosity. And for those of you who know the name, you already know, anytime you read an Edward Lee book, you are in for a gross, gory, violent, disturbing read. This book, Monstrosity, takes place in the woodsy area of Florida. So this monster, this thing that's haunting this woman, he keeps showing up, you know, little peeks through the trees and things like that. And like I said, anyone who's read Edward Lee before, you know what to expect. You know that this book gets nasty. But I read that years ago. I actually kind of want to pick it up again and read it soon. Book number 3 is a book with a masked character. So this is a book that a lot of people have not read, and it surprised me because I think a lot of you guys out there would enjoy it. This is Grant Field Grove's Camp McLean. In case you couldn't tell from that lovely cover, Camp McLean is an homage to the sort of 80s VHS, you know, awful B-movie horror that we all know and love. And it succeeds in that manner perfectly. It's violent and gory, and there's lots of sex, gratuitous in many ways. Some of the kills are just very cheesy and ludicrous and over the top. Some of the lines are cheesy and ludicrous and over the top, but it's all meant to be that way in this case, you know. This is an homage to that awful B-movie horror, I mean, to a T, you know. So if you like that kind of stuff, you'd love Camp McLean, and unfortunately a lot of people have not heard of this book, have not read it, and I sort of think that's a tragedy because I had a lot of fun with its ridiculous, over-the-top nature. Book number 4 is a book with the best final chapter. You guys have heard me talk about this before, but I'm telling you, those of you who have not read it yet, the ending is one of his best in my opinion, and that is Stephen King's Revival. I'm not going to talk too much about the book. I will say that it's a great book all around. It's a great book from start to finish. But the end in particular, Like I said, in my opinion, it is one of his best, one of his scariest, and I love that book. Okay, 5 is a series that changes its protagonist from the first book. For this, I chose Christopher Golden's The Veil trilogy. Starts out with The Myth Hunters. The Myth Hunters focuses on Oliver Bascombe, who is a rather rich individual, and he's basically forced to marry this woman, you know, for family status. And on the eve of their wedding night, this awful cold chill comes sweeping through the house, and his fiancée disappears. But Oliver sees this terrifying creature made of ice and snow, and it kind of pulls him into this underworld called the Veil, where we find out that all these fairy tale creatures, fairy tales and myths are real, and they are far more terrifying than we think. So in this case, he meets up with Jack Frost. The Sandman is absolutely terrifying. Jack Frost is pretty freaking scary, and it's a great it's a great series. I had a lot of fun with the first book, but then the second book, instead of Oliver, we're focused on Oliver's sister. But yeah, great series that a lot of people don't know about. Okay, number 6, a book with someone or something resurrected from death. So for this, I chose Darren Shawn's Zombie. And this is another lengthy series, although very easy to get into, very easy to finish. Zombie takes place in a zombie apocalypse, but in this case, it is told from the point of view of a zombie, a child zombie, in fact. And it's a blast to read. Those of you who have read Darren Shawn before know that although his stuff is technically, you know, young adult, middle grade, it is very dark, very gory, and he does not hold the hand of children or adults in any way. So, really cool series, awesome book if you are interested in a unique take on the zombie genre. Check it out. Number 7, a book with a character with telekinesis. For this, I chose Dan Simmons' Hollow Man. And Hollow Man is about an individual who can read people's minds and has telepathic abilities. He meets and falls in love with this woman who can do the same. And basically the woman is taken from him, and a lot of the book is actually about his mourning and his grief. And it's a very realistic portrayal of that, in my opinion. But the main character eventually meets this psychotic serial killer. Like I said, it deals a lot with the subject of loss, but it also, to me, kind of had the feel of the old movie Scanners. If you guys have watched that, I'm sure most of you have. But great read. It's technically billed as a science fiction. Some people also consider it a fantasy, but it can absolutely be seen as a horror as well. Okay, number 8, a book that takes place in New York. There was only one book that I wanted to talk about for this one, and that was Sylvia Plath's only book, Bell Jar. And some of you might immediately say, well, hold on. Sylvia Plath is not horror. Well, if you have read Bell Jar, then you will know it is absolutely horrific. And if you have not, do it. Bell Jar is about a woman named Esther and her slow but utterly realistic descent into depression and madness. And it is very much based off of Sylvia Plath's own experiences. In fact, I believe about a year or two after she published this book is when she sadly took her own life. So no, it's not horror, but the raw realism and power of this book is so horrific, because you as a reader go into it knowing what's going to happen to Esther, and all you can do is just try and hold on as she loses herself. Book number 9 is a book that takes place in hell or has something to do with the occult. For this, I picked one that is also technically billed as a science fiction or fantasy, but is very much a horror as well, and that is Larry Niven and Jerry Pournelle's Inferno. And this is about a man who actually ends up in hell, sort of Dante's Inferno style, and is trying to escape. I'm not going to say anything else about it, but it's a great read if you haven't read it. Very unique, very cool. Check it out. Number 10, a book that takes place in space. Okay, I'm going to talk about the book Luminous Dead. Luminous Dead, I read it when it came out, actually. I pre-ordered this one. It did not end up being what I thought it was going to be, but it was pretty decent all the same. So Luminous Dead is a science fiction. It is mainly about this particular woman who lies so that she can get on a job scavenging and mining this particular mineral deposit on a separate world. And what happens is she takes on this really weird job. It's completely out of the realm of anything she's ever done before, and nothing is being done by the book. So tons of red flags, but she still goes for it, and she basically ends up trapped, and her only way of survival is to listen to this disembodied voice of the person who hired her in the first place, who she does not know their motives, and you're kind of going from there. So you're left in the dark just as much as she is. It is very atmospheric and very psychological. While it is not straight horror, it can absolutely be construed that way, just because of the claustrophobic feel that the whole book has. So really interesting read if you guys don't mind a little science fiction. Okay, number 11, a book that has characters from different franchises or a mashup. For this, I picked an anthology. This is Jeff Connor's Classics Mutilated. And I really wish I still had my copy. I sold it when we were making money to buy a house, along with a bunch of other books that I never should have gotten rid of. But I will be getting back in the future. And Classics Mutilated is just that. It takes all these classic stories and mashes them up. So you might have a Lovecraftian tale of Tom Sawyer. And there's some really awesome stuff in there. A couple of the stories are not worth reading in my opinion, but for the most part, it's a super cool collection. It's got a really great cover, and now I really want to buy it again. So, almost done, guys. Number 12, a book that is a retelling. Okay, for this, I picked another anthology. This is Happily Ever After, Fairy Tales Retold. Gorgeous cover on this one. You can see. Beautiful cover. Oh, and the back. It's got some really cool illustrations to it. And the book itself, inside the book itself, it has some illustrations. But, again, you're going to say, Josh, you're cheating. This is clearly fantasy and fairy tales and not horror. Well, my gosh, people, have you ever read some of these original fairy tales? They're absolutely terrifying, okay? You read Bluebeard and tell me that it's not scary, all right? So I picked this book, one, because retelling is basically right there in the name. Two, because fairy tales are not usually happily ever after, and I guarantee you that quite a few of the stories in here are pretty freaking scary. So, final prompt. Prompt 13, a book you found in a thrift or antique store. So this is pretty much anything from my collection. It all comes from Goodwill or a thrift store, a used bookstore, eBay. I very, very, very rarely ever buy anything new. But in this case, I picked one that I got from Goodwill a while back, and I showed it off in one of my hauls. I still haven't made it to it, but I love this cover, and I'm really excited to get to it. That is William McKellar's Mystery of Mordack Castle. So, I'll be reading that soon, along with some of the others that I was talking about that I have neglected in the past years. And there you go, guys. That was the Friday the 13th franchise book tag. I'm going to leave you with some cat footage. What are you doing, buddy? What are you doing? Yeah? I guess I'll be cleaning the counter, huh? Boy. And, as always, I will wish you a wonderful evening. It's already evening here, so I wish you a wonderful day tomorrow, depending on whenever you watch this. Have a great week. Getting closer and closer to that 500 mark, and I'm so excited to do that live show with you guys. So thank you. Have a great week. Stay safe. Stay strong. Read some awesome books. Cheers.